Tushes. Who rock moves and make moves with other mommies. Back at the club, sipping my wet is where you find me.
Melton had 23 tonight. He had 22 recently. What he's doing a little bit more than maybe even in the past as a scorer, what is that kind of giving this team?
I think he's putting the ball on the floor a lot more than he has in the past. But just really having that, another ball handler, playmaker. He's starting to shoot the ball really well, and obviously we know what he's capable of defensively. So just adding a different dynamic, especially to that group that he plays mostly with.
Draymond, just how would you assess this team at the halfway mark right now?
I think we're in a pretty good spot, figuring it out. Just really figuring out who we are as a team now that we're healthy and whole. I think it's kind of starting to come together for us and turn the corner. We're starting to build an identity.
On Melton, what's it been like to see him, get back to this level after the surgery and the injury?
It's great. We thought he was very important to this team before he got hurt, and obviously everything that happened. So for him to come back was a big gift for us, and to see how he's playing. Now that he's back from the injury, the minutes are starting to go up. Although he's been doing these in under 20 minutes still, although the restriction has gone up, but. It's very happy for him because I know, the work that he put in to get back.
I think you had a sequence where you deflected a pass, recovered to block a shot, rebound, then trail three. How would you describe just like the rhythm that you're starting to develop here this month compared to last month?
I think my rhythm is a lot better. I've had the ball a lot more, which allows to find a better rhythm. And then, it's that time of season where, you start to really get into shape, where it's headed to the All-Star break, and then coming out of the All-Star break, it's a sprint to the finish line, So everything starts to usually come together after holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you start to put it together. And, I've been able to find a pretty good rhythm as of late. Just got to keep putting the work in. Making sure I'm getting my reps, on days that we're not, practicing or, no games, just continue to put the work in so that the confidence is there. But overall, I feel like I'm starting to find a good rhythm on both sides.
Draymond, you said that this team is starting to find an identity. What is that identity?
I think, number one, it has to be defense. We have to be a really good defensive team because that then allows us to get out in transition, get some easy buckets, which then allows you to operate better in the, in the half court. And then the other things that's becoming our identity, I'll just let the teams figure that out. I don't want to tell them.
Draymond, Steve's referred a couple times recently to these being like the dog days of the season. Number one, do you agree that these are the dog days? And just when did you first figure that out, like in your career, that these are the dog days and how to kind of push through those dog days of the season?
Early on in your career, you don't really know. You just know it's a little harder at the time. And you want to go to the gym a little bit less that day. And the walls start to close in on you a little bit more. I told the guys after last game, I showered and got out so fast after last game. And I told them in the locker room, I said, I just want y'all to know I'm not upset. I'm not mad. I know people are going to see I left quick. I just need to get out of here. These walls are closing in on me. Because after that Clipper game, I was beat up. So all last week, every day I was in here 2 hours just really getting myself, one day in between games. So just getting my body back to a place where I feel good going out on the floor, and I was a little beat up after that game. So that was a few-day process of actually just hammering away at different things. And so even on the off days, like, I was here for a couple hours. And then after the game, I sprinted out because it just felt like I was in a casino or jail or something, like the walls was just closing in on me. And so you feel it, and early in your career, I remember a friend of mine came to my room. We were in L.A., and he came to my room, and I had a 3:30 bus, and it probably was 3:05, and I was just sitting there staring at a wall. He's like, man, what's wrong with you? I said, I don't know, but I'm exhausted. And so you start to figure it out, and as you get older, you learn how to manage it a little more. But I bet you Will Richard head is spinning. He don't know whether he's going left or right, up or down right now. It just happens. And what it is, for those that don't know, is you can't quite see the beginning of the season. It was too long ago. Can't quite see the end. It's too far away. And All-Star break also is just a little too far. And those make the dog days for you. So we're in them. Got to find a way to get wins in them, though.
Draymond.
But they suck. Ooh, they suck.
Speaking of defense, what do you like about Guy had 4 of you guys' 16 steals. How much does his defense coming off the bench mean to you guys? And do you guys talk about defense? Do you study defense together?
Well, I think I'm always trying to give tips that can help one be better. But Guy is just he is a ball of energy. Both sides of the ball. He rebounds. Some guys just have a knack for the ball, and Guy just has a knack for the ball. He's a ball magnet, whether that's a deflection, whether that's a rebound, whether that's a tap out, on the offensive rebounds. He's a ball magnet. And, he's been very disruptive for our group this year. With his rebounding ability and then just being all over the court defensively. He's a smart player. And so, he reads things before they happen. Guy, we do this thing where, you learn about your teammates and they tell their story. And, he was a point guard his whole life. It makes sense because he understands the game from a different vantage point. And when you start talking steals and just having a knack for the ball, that's usually a point guard's trait, And so, he's continued to get better, continued to work on his game. He's built up the trust from not only the coaching staff but his teammates as well. And, the energy that he's been bringing to the floor for us on a nightly basis has been good.
Do you get a kick out of giving defensive tips? I mean, is that something that at this stage in your career that you really take a lot of pride in sharing your expertise?
I've always probably talked a little too much, but I do enjoy. You play this game for all these years and then you're just done. Where does the knowledge go? What did you do? What did you give back to those to keep it moving forward, to keep the game growing? That's all a part of it. Do you just take the knowledge home with you and it's dormant forever? And that's always the interesting thing about sports to me is you get older, you get less valuable. But the older you get, the more knowledge and information you have. But when everybody just kick you because your value's down, so then where does that information go? And then you see young guys come into the league their first, second year, and they don't have a clue, But if guys wasn't passing the knowledge back, then everyone's starting from zero. Then how do we even push this thing further and further and further ahead, So I love giving advice to young guys. Any young guy that'll listen, I'll speak to because, Pete Myers told me a long time ago, you owe it to the game to leave it in a better place than it was when you found it. And I always try to do that.
There's a very easy follow-up here then, which is, I've heard you on the podcast a little bit, but are you considering coaching more now because of all the things that you mentioned than you may have a few years ago?
As I get closer to the end, I think a little bit more about it, and I'm definitely closer than I was a couple years ago. You had asked me 2 years ago, I would have told you hell no. But as you get closer to the end, you start to think oh man, what is it that I really want to do? And I don't know that it's not an absolute no anymore for me. You start to learn more about it and dig deeper into it. As you get older, you get closer with the coaching staff. You start to see more, So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, yes, I'm going to coach when I'm done. But I won't tell you no anymore.
And this is, just so we're clear, this is Michigan State, or this is to stay in the league, assuming that you go that path?
Michigan State or Golden State, some with a state. Not Wichita State. Hell no, not Washington State. I'm just playing. But, I don't know. We'll see. I still think I got quite a bit left in the tank to keep playing right now. But like I said, it's definitely not a no anymore. I think more and more about it as I continue to go.